The wind whispers tales of the Aegean, carrying the scent of time and salt across ancient cliffs. But some whispers carry a chill, a story of devotion, disappearance, and a single, silent garment. 5 months. That's how long it took for the sea to offer its only clue, a hand-woven, indigo-dyed habit cloak, folded with an unsettling precision, found clinging to a scrubby bush above the churning waters. No body, no struggle, no trace of the woman who wore it. Just that blue fabric, a silent testament to a life that seemed to have simply stepped out of the world. Have you ever felt the weight of an unspoken truth, a mystery that lingers in the air like the sea mist? Do you know someone whose life took an unexpected turn, leaving questions that echo through a community? Has a story ever unfolded in your town that defied easy answers, leaving everyone to wonder what truly happened? This is the story of Sister Helena Costas, a woman of quiet faith, and Father Adrian Mallory, a priest whose private intensity bordered on dangerous romance. Their paths converged on a remote Greek island, a place of whitewashed chapels and hidden coves, where human longing and spiritual devotion became entangled in a web of church networks and pilgrimage routes. What began as an ordinary meeting in Rome would soon lead to an extraordinary disappearance, leaving behind a trail of ardent letters, hushed island rumors, and a single, enigmatic cloak. We'll explore the intricate details of this case, from the initial encounter to the chilling discovery, and delve into the theories that attempted to explain the inexplicable. Join us as we uncover the layers of this profound mystery, examining the fragile line between pastoral love and personal obsession, and the enduring power of secrets in a small, close-knit community. If you're drawn to stories that challenge perceptions and leave you questioning everything, hit that like button and subscribe now. Don't miss a single chapter of Whispered Crimes. Sister Helena Costas was born in Thessaloniki, a city steeped in history and faith. From a young age, her devotion was clear, leading her to join the Sisters of the Aster, a small order dedicated to service. Their mission took them to Agios Theodoros, a Greek island of breathtaking beauty, where they ran a rehab center and painstakingly restored an abandoned convent. Helena's life on the island was one of quiet purpose. She was known for her meticulous work cataloging the convent's tiny library, a treasure trove of ancient texts and forgotten stories. Beyond the convent walls, she taught English to the island's schoolchildren, her gentle demeanor and patient guidance earning her the respect and affection of the local community. Her days were structured by prayer, communal meals, and the rhythms of island life, a testament to a devout existence embedded in tradition. Meanwhile, across the ocean in Maryland, Father Adrian Mallory cultivated a different kind of spiritual life. At 48, he was an American priest with a steady parish, his homilies tidy and predictable, yet beneath the surface lay a complex man. Mallory was more than just a parish priest, he organized youth missions, his commitment to guiding young souls evident in his tireless efforts. He wrote meditative essays for small religious journals, his words exploring themes of vocation and sacrifice with a soft yet incisive tone. Those who knew him casually described him as principled, perhaps a touch theatrical in his delivery. However, a deeper look into his private correspondence revealed a different facet, an intensity, a dangerous romanticism that hinted at a profound, perhaps even turbulent, interior life. Their worlds, seemingly disparate, converged at a conference in Rome. Father Mallory was there to speak on pastoral care, his insight sought after by fellow clergy. Sister Helena attended because the Aster sisters were seeking donors for crucial roof repairs, a practical necessity for their ancient convent. A photograph from that conference captures a fleeting moment, the two of them on a grand staircase, head slightly bowed, Mallory's hand near Helena's elbow. It was an ordinary greeting, a polite exchange, yet in the harsh light of later events, that image would swell into something more, a silent piece of evidence hinting at a connection that would soon deepen. In the months that followed, a stream of letters and emails began to arrive at the convent, all from Father Mallory. These were not casual notes, they were ardent, theological, bordering on the confessional. He wrote about vocation not as a general calling, but as a personal drama, a profound struggle. He spoke of being haunted by a call to long silence and simple company, words that resonated with a deep, almost desperate longing. The abbess, initially cautious in her replies, gradually warmed to his correspondence. There are lines of hospitality and lines of boundary within religious orders, and in their exchange, those lines began to blur, subtly at first, then with increasing definition. If you're finding yourself drawn into the emotional intensity of this unfolding story, feeling the weight of these characters' inner lives, then you owe it to yourself to subscribe. Don't let this narrative fade into the background. Join our community and ensure you're always in the loop for more profound true crime stories. The quiet life on Agios Theodoros was about to be disrupted. In November, the abbot of a neighboring monastery, noticing an unusual visitor, alerted local police. A man with a U.S. passport had arrived, specifically asking for Sister Helena. Passport checks and ferry manifests confirmed it. Father Mallory disembarked on Agios Theodoros 2 days after a late autumn storm had swept through the Aegean. He claimed pilgrimage, a common enough reason for visitors to the island's many holy sites. Witnesses remembered him clearly, formally dressed, despite the island's rough weather. Speaking slow Greek with a distinct Midwestern lilt. He took up residence in the convent guest room, a temporary fixture in the sisters' ancient routine. He helped clear the gutters, a practical act of service, and attended vespers, participating in their evening prayers. But his presence was not entirely seamless. He and Helena were seen walking together along the cliff paths, their figures silhouetted against the vast expanse of the sea, and along the sand-strewn roads that wound through the island's sparse landscape. Locals, observing him at the coffee shop, described him as polite but intense. He asked probing questions about the convent's history, about the sisters' vital work with trafficked women, and, most notably, about Helena's future plans. His interest seemed to extend beyond mere spiritual curiosity, hinting at a deeper, more personal engagement. For 5 months, the island felt like a sealed, fragile stage, a microcosm where human drama played out against a backdrop of ancient stone and endless sea. The sisters maintained that their routine remained unchanged: prayers, meals, repairs, yet beneath the surface, private tensions grew. Mallory began making daily walks to a specific headland, one that overlooked a cove known locally as Lefko's Teeth. It was a dangerous place, characterized by razor-sharp limestone and hidden, treacherous currents. The abbess, Magda Lycaos, later described him as restless in a holy way, a phrase that captured both his spiritual fervor and an underlying agitation. Helena, through the intimate lens of her journal entries, expressed confusion and a profound patience. She wrote of a man who read scripture like a lover, of nights when their conversations roamed freely from the profound theological insights of Augustine to the mundane details of local marine life. The tone of her entries was more intimate than the sisters would have liked, and more vulnerable than Helena had ever shown with most visitors. Agios Theodoros, like many Greek islands, held a deep and complex history. It was a place of ancient smuggling routes, whispers of which still lingered in the coves. A 20-year-old feud over a parcel of seaside land continued to divide families, a testament to the island's long memories. An informal network of migrants and fishermen, who often slept in sheds along the coast, knew the currents and hidden passages better than any seasoned captain. The island also had its faithful guardians, none more so than Inspector Nikos Mavros. He had served in the same precinct for 30 years, his records reading like parish maps, detailing who visited whom, whose son worked on whose fishing boat, and who held grudges that spanned generations. Mavros would later tell reporters, "An island is a small town with very long memories," a statement that perfectly encapsulated the intricate web of relationships and hidden histories that defined Agios Theodoros. If you're finding yourself captivated by the intricate details of this island's secrets and the unfolding human drama, don't just watch, become a part of our community. Hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who appreciates a truly profound mystery. Your engagement helps us bring more stories like this to light. Then, without warning, Sister Helena disappeared. There was no ransom note, no thunderclap of violence to mark her departure. She was simply gone. The sisters, in a state of shock and alarm, immediately called the police, who fanned out across the island the night she was last seen. The search began with a desperate urgency, but yielded no immediate answers. Attention quickly turned to Father Mallory. His room at the convent was found in perfect order, a packed bag sat neatly, a rosary was looped on a bedside table, and a Bible lay open with underlined passages on pilgrimage and abandonment. But Mallory himself was gone, vanishing within 24 hours of Helena being last seen. A cell phone ping placed him on a ferry bound for Piraeus, the bustling port city near Athens. He made no phone calls during his escape, leaving no digital breadcrumbs. His bank account records, however, showed a cash withdrawal at the port, a final, tangible act before he seemed to dissolve into the anonymity of the mainland. Inspector Mavros's initial investigation was a ledger of near misses and frustrating contradictions. Ferry manifests placed Mallory on the return boat, but surveillance footage from Piraeus was grainy, his face appearing less often than the manifest suggested. The early days of the search were a scramble, a desperate attempt to piece together a narrative from fragmented clues and unreliable sightings. If you're feeling the frustration of these unanswered questions, the weight of this unsolved case, then you understand why we need your support. Don't just passively observe, become an active participant in uncovering these truths. Subscribe, like, and share this video. If you don't, you're missing out on a deeper understanding of the human condition. 5 months later, in a storm-swollen spring, the sea finally offered its single, profound clue. The fisherman, going about his daily routine, found the cloak. It was the same hand-woven, indigo-dyed habit cloak, thin and salt-stiff from the sea spray, folded like a prayer and left at the lip of a cliff above the Aegean. Its discovery ignited a new wave of investigation, bringing forensic teams from Athens to the remote island. Under laboratory lights, the cloak began to yield its secrets, though reluctantly. The old cloth, sewn with a distinct pattern used by the Astor sisters, had traces of reddish staining near the hem. Microscopic examination revealed small, salt-encrusted soil pellets, a single button missing, and strands of hair matted into the weave. Microscopic fibers matched local plant species, trapped in the fabric, suggesting the cloak had been exposed to the island's unique flora. DNA swabs returned mixed results. The majority profile matched Sister Helena, as expected from a habitual garment, but there were other low-level contributors. One partial profile yielded fragments consistent with a male contributor, but the sample was degraded and could not be conclusively matched to Mallory or any other known individual. There were no obvious signs of trauma on the cloak, no rips, no blood pooling. The feeling of the lab findings was like a conversation where one party refused to speak plainly, offering tantalizing hints but no definitive answers. The cloak's location was particularly telling. It was found below the headland where Mallory had made his daily walks, overlooking Lefko's Teeth. The cliff above this cove drops into swirling, treacherous waters below. The currents there are known to take and keep debris. Some locals spoke of storms bringing artifacts back from the deep, old amphory, sunken buoys, things that were lost and later returned. Others whispered of a more human story, a woman thrown from a headland, a suicide, a cover-up. The Coast Guard's initial search had found no body, the sea was cold that winter, and its powerful currents could carry remains far beyond range. With the discovery of the cloak, theories proliferated, and with them, old island narratives found new life, each attempting to fill the void of Helena's absence. Theory 1, Accident. Many believed Helena, whose love of cliffside walks was well known, simply slipped. The cloak, they argued, could have been dislodged from her clothing on the rocks and washed ashore. Supporters pointed to the rough winter and the unseen caprices of the sea. Against this theory was the absence of other detritus, no shoe, no bag, no hat, which would be unusual if someone had fallen from such a height. Theory 2, Foul play. This theory gained traction due to the partial male DNA found on the cloak, Mallory's hasty departure, and the island's known smuggling network, which created a plausible tableau for violence. Some speculated that Mallory, perhaps unmoored by passion and believing Helena would leave with him, could have become violent when refused. Others suggested a third party, someone jealous, someone who felt wronged by the convent's social work, or someone who feared the sisters meddling in local affairs, might have attacked Helena and disposed of evidence in ways that confused the investigators. Theory 3. Conspiracy, ****. A small but vocal online following concocted a narrative where the cloak was staged to look like a disappearance to hide an extraction. In this version, Helena had stumbled upon a trafficking cell or was recruited into witness protection. The cloak, they claimed, was a simple decoy. There was no evidence beyond anonymous forum posts and a later, unverified tip to a tabloid, yet the theory persisted in the darker corners of the internet. Theory 4. Religious crisis. Some within the church whispered that both Mallory and Helena were participating in a dangerous spiritual experiment, rituals at the margins of their orders that blurred vow and vocation. This theory read religious devotion and erotic longing into a category of sacrificial symbolism. The sisters vehemently denied anything of the sort. Their statements emphasized Helena's fidelity and the sanctity of their work. But rumor thrived wherever institutions tried to explain the inexplicable by referring to forbidden rites. If you're still here, still pondering these theories, it's because you're invested in the truth. Don't let this story end without your voice. Hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means everything to us in bringing these stories to light. Inspector Mavrosa's investigation, despite its thoroughness, found contradictions rather than certainties. The ferry manifests placed Mallory on the return boat, but surveillance footage from Piraeus was grainy, his face appearing less often than the manifest suggested. An interview with Mallory's diocesan superior in Maryland revealed that Mallory had requested leave to pursue a private spiritual burden, a vague explanation that offered little clarity. He returned to the U.S., submitted to a short internal inquiry, and then vanished from public view, resigning from active parish ministry and moving to a small town in Ohio. He gave a brief statement to Greek authorities through counsel. He had come as a pilgrim, he had loved Helena as a friend and spiritual companion, but he had not harmed her. He refused to attend further interviews in Greece, leaving a gaping hole in the investigation. Without a body, prosecutors could not file murder charges. The cloak's degraded DNA and the lack of a conclusive match to Mallory prevented an arrest. The investigation became a ledger of near misses, a boat sighting that could have been him, a witness who said they saw him arguing with a local fisherman 2 weeks before Helena disappeared, a fisherman who said he saw a small launch heading out at midnight but refused to name the captain. Each lead dissolved into ambiguity, leaving the case in a perpetual state of limbo. The convent, meanwhile, tried to hold itself together amidst the storm of speculation and grief. Donations poured in initially, then dried up as the mystery deepened and no answers emerged. Some parishioners left, disillusioned because the sisters would not talk publicly about the details of the case. Helena's mother, who lived in Thessaloniki, arrived on the island, furious that the church had not done more to find her daughter. She insisted that Sister Helena would never leave the convent without saying goodbye, a mother's intuition clashing with the cold facts of the disappearance. The sisters maintained a stoic silence that was both protective and weary. They celebrated masses in memory of Helena. And they kept her room just as she left it, an open Bible, a half-filled jar of ink, a shrine to a life abruptly interrupted. Over the years, the case settled into an uneasy archive, newspaper clippings, grainy photos, a single cautiously optimistic DNA recheck that again proved inconclusive. Mallory lived out his days far from the Aegean, occasionally corresponding with a sympathetic journalist. He never admitted to wrongdoing but spoke in public letters about a calling I could not name, words that only deepened the mystery surrounding his true intentions. The island continued its life, tourists came in the summer, fishermen mended nets, children learned to swim in the same coves that had swallowed a story. The cloak, preserved in Athens, was eventually returned to the sisters as part relic, part evidence. It hangs behind glass in the convent office, reminder of a person who has no body and a mystery that resists tidy closure. The final pages of this story are not neat. There are families who needed answers and never received them. There are priests and nuns who learned, painfully, how fragile the line is between pastoral love and personal obsession. There are small towns that keep secrets because silence is a kind of survival. What remains, then, is partly physical and partly mythic: a blue cloak snagged on a thyme bush above a cliff, a lighthouse's beam catching on its fabric. It is also the way humans try to make meaning from absence, by constructing versions of the story that fit their fears and hopes. Some believe Helena walked into the sea, choosing martyrdom or release. Others are sure she was taken. The most charitable say the truth is somewhere in between, a human life undone by accidents of timing, by the hazards of love that refuses a home. In the quiet of the convent at dusk, the sisters light a candle for Helena. They say her name aloud, not as an accusation, not as a code, but as an invocation, that wherever she is, on some wild cliff, on some boat, in some unknown harbor, she might find a rest the island could not grant her. For everyone else, the fisherman who found the cloak, the inspector who logged evidence, the priest who left for Ohio, the case is an open wound and an unsolved parish. The cloak remains a mute witness, a fabric that remembers shape and motion, and a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary objects are entrusted with the hardest stories. If you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who values depth and truth in storytelling. Don't let this channel go unnoticed. If you haven't subscribed yet, what's holding you back? Is it the uncomfortable truths we uncover, or the lingering questions that challenge your perceptions? Tell us in the comments why you won't subscribe, and let's start a conversation. Your support, whether through a like, a share, or a subscription, fuels our ability to bring you more whispered crimes that truly matter. Don't leave this story, or our channel, without making your mark.